just before we get tucked into some questions, Nigel, you've been in the States a lot, inevitably extraordinary times. We've been watching it with fascination. Donald Trump 2.0 and all that sort of business. What's he like?
Larger than life, very warm, very friendly. If he likes you, he really likes you. If he doesn't, he really doesn't. But just with ordinary folk, wherever he goes, he's incredible. I mean incredible. Waiters, waitresses, drivers. He makes people feel really special. He's got an incredible personal warmth, and it's not always something you see necessarily on television, but he's really got that. He's very charming.
And have we gotten over the Elon Musk issues? I mean, are you back friends again, or is it?
I'm talking. We're talking. We are.
I mean, to be in touch with the world's richest man, who has. I mean, people sometimes criticise Elon Musk and say, "Oh, he's this and he's that and he's." If you are that intelligent and you've done as many things for the world, you are going to be different from everybody else.
He's a hero.
He created PayPal, which changed the world of payments.
Yep.
He created Tesla, which, against all odds, has changed you can like them or not. He's got SpaceX, he's put rockets in there. I mean, he's done things that none of us can even dream of doing.
And he's brought back free speech. Remember that November 2020 presidential election, when all debate around Hunter Biden's laptop was shut down. Then the pandemic. If you question lockdowns, you might find yourself suspended on Facebook or elsewhere. That whole social media debate room has completely shifted because of Elon. Now look, he and I don't agree on everything, and I don't bend my opinions for anyone.
So your views, you've been very clear about your views on Tommy Robinson.
Yes.
Absolutely no interest in him joining Reform or otherwise.
Let him do his own thing. We'll do our thing, and that's it. All right. But Elon and I didn't agree on that. But hey, you know what? Friends don't always agree.
Do you think you're going to get some money?
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'd like some money. At the moment, we're being funded by the public because they're joining our party. It's 25 quid to join, and some give us 25 quid.
Yeah, I noticed that Kenny Badenoch wouldn't say this morning how many members the Conservative Party have.
Well, they said 131,860 when they had the leadership election. I think it's a long way below that.
Where are you now?
186,500 members and growing by many hundreds, some days even thousands.
Right, let's take some calls. 0344 499 1000 to tuck your call in very quickly to Nigel Farage if you would like to ask him something. John is in Reading. John, good morning.
Oh, hello there. Yeah, just a quick question for Nigel. Is Reform planning to hold their own sort of investigation into the Southport incident? Because I came across this thing online, a lady called Louise Uwaku, who the father seems to maybe have served in the military in Rwanda during the genocide. Maybe, I don't know whether that's true or not, but I think it's deserves some investigation.
Well, look, first things first. I feel there should be a full national inquiry into the grooming gang scandal, absolutely. And the fact there isn't, the fact that Labour have now announced there'll be 5.
And you would say national inquiry because,
well, I would
because of the seriousness of it. What's the difference between national and local?
Well, if what we believe to be true, that in 50 different towns this was happening, maybe more, then just doing it in 5 doesn't make sense. But here's the problem. I said I would call, I'd help fund a national inquiry to try and chivvy the government into doing it. The problem is with the 5 that are happening, or even if I do it, they won't have statutory powers. Now, you will get a voice for victims, which is important because they were ignored, or not believed, but we need statutory powers. Now he says he's going to have an inquiry into Southport, but I'd love to know some timelines. So look, national inquiries can be valuable, but they have to have statutory powers. You have to be able to get in the police from Rotherham. So why did you not do anything about this? If you knew about this, or the council leader, or whatever it may be, without statutory powers, inquiries are not that great.
I often hear people ask questions on and talk about stopping the boats. You've been very vocal on that. If you were Prime Minister, how do you stop those boats?
You will not stop any boats, all the while the European Convention on Human Rights is written into UK law, and our judges will always lean on that.
So you would leave the European Court of Human Rights immediately?
Yeah, you have to repeal repeal sections of the Human Rights Act from 1998, which incorporated that into law, and tell the court in Strasbourg, with its jokers that run it, many of whom have not even been legally trained, goodbye. Then you've got sovereignty back. once you've got sovereignty back, you can start deporting people. I mean, do you remember Abu Qatada?
I do.
It took us 10 years to deport him.
Unbelievable.
10 years, because he kept claiming his human rights, his human rights, his human rights. So that's the first thing we have to do. Second thing we have to do is to say that nobody, and by the way, Poland have just done this, nobody that comes via this route will ever be granted refugee status.
And that's I suppose some people would say,
Third,
oh, but these poor people, they've suffered in their struggle. But my view would be, hang on a second, you got to France. France, I thought the last time I went, was a friendly country.
Yeah. I mean, France is generally safe. Generally safe. No, and then if they still come, then you literally deport people, whether that's back to Syria or Afghanistan or wherever it is, or frankly, whether it's putting some boats back on the beaches in France. The French wouldn't like it very much, but you know what? Tony Abbott did this, the Australian Prime Minister, back in 2012. He towed boats back to Indonesia, and guess what happened? They stopped coming. So, it can be done.
Nigel has ruled out working with the Conservatives, says Gary Mitchell. Is that in fact the case? Would you ever work with the Conservatives, or would you say, for now, don't need to work with anybody, the momentum's with us?
If I shake your hand and we do a deal together, a financial transaction together, or whatever it may be, I'm only going to shake your hand, James, if I trust you, if I think you're an honourable party. Otherwise, why would I bother? I gave a huge act of friendship towards the Conservative Party in 2019 by withdrawing 320 candidates who were going to oppose them in the general election, by not rubbishing too much the deal that Boris Johnson had done with Brussels, even though I had some pretty strong reservations about it. And in return, what did I get? I got what the country got. Total betrayal of what he promised he would do as Prime Minister and what they said they would do, immigration numbers, regulations. I could go on and on and on. So how could I do a deal with a group of people that I don't regard to be honourable? And frankly, this lead we've now got in the polls, well, in Wales, it's 10 points. When people realise that we are now the challengers to the Labour Party, I think the Conservative vote will fall away.
A question from Susan, who says, what does Nigel think about Dale the eco-person? So this is Dale he's in the list, actually, which we're going to be talking about later on the show, of the UK's top taxpayers. He's also, is it Ecotricity, I think? And he is a Labour Party donor. He's also been granted permission, I understand, for a particular electricity-producing farm.
On the positives, Dale Vince is paying lots of tax.
And it's documented, and there it is, millions of pounds.
Yeah,
fantastic.
and that's great, because so many people are leaving. So that's great. I do not think somebody who's a direct Labour Party donor should be in receipt of a big wind farm permission, out of which he might make a very considerable sum of money. It looks dreadful.
Finally to you, am I speaking to the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, or is it a further project that you think there's more work to be done to continue this momentum?
If ever there was a once-in-a-100-year moment in British politics, rather like after the First World War, the Liberals disappeared as the main party to be replaced by Labour, if ever that moment was going to happen, it's now.
It's now. You've heard it here first.